All right, back in NBA draft coverage, sponsored by Jeep. And Oklahoma City at 18, 3 first-rounders, 3 second-rounders. They traded away one of those first-rounders, but after taking Josh Giddey earlier with the 18th pick, Oklahoma City makes a selection, and it is Tre Mann. There you go, Florida. He was All-SEC first team. In 2019, he was a McDonald's All-American, and he is now on his way to Oklahoma City. All right, the Florida kid going to OKC. He's from that area, born in Gainesville, grew up in that area, Gator fan, but now he's going to see a different part of the country in Oklahoma City. How's he fit with that group?
Well, I think he fits because when you look at the potential of all of these rookies, you got to have a skill. Tre Mann has a skill and is playing in the pick and roll. He's one of the more elite pick and roll players in this draft. His ball handling ability, coming off screens, being able to shoot behind the screen if a defender goes under, turn it. He has the ability to turn the corner and get downhill. You know, he shoots 40% from the three-point line, but he is a pick and roll player, and I think his game really translates to the NBA, especially you're going to run probably 50, 60, 70 pick and rolls in the course of a game.
SEC had a weird year, right? Now, Kentucky wasn't Kentucky. You weren't quite sure what happened. Then Alabama came out of nowhere. They ended up as a 2 seed. And meanwhile, Florida was just sort of plodding along and just always seemed to be between that, like kind of 20 and 25. And Tre Mann, part of that Gator group. What was he like in college? Just sort of give me a read on Tre Mann, Matt.
Big time pop this past season. Wasn't considered a draft pick a year ago. 41% from three-point range. Hey, by the way, something we all love in basketball. Back-to-back Treys here with Murphy going to the Pels and now Tre Mann. Hey, here we go. Wonderful addition, and absolutely, this was the range. Tre Mann was projected by pretty much everyone I talked to at the NBA level, both on the evaluation side and on the agent side, to be in that, 15 to 20, 21 range overall, and lo and behold, that's what we're looking at here. Very nice addition. With Oklahoma City, the question becomes, they have such a huge haul of picks. Is any of this going to change by the end of the night? But if they wind up keeping Tre Mann, I actually do like this pick a lot here. I think he's got what Avery mentioned in the pick and roll is 100% true, and I think he's got a good chance at developing in that particular system. It's a quality pick by OKC.
Okay, there you go. All right, so you see OKC had 3 first-round picks. They took Josh Giddey. They kept it. Alperen Sengun was traded. So that pick is, he's on a different squad. He's going to Memphis. But Tre Mann, they keep that pick. They also have 3 in the second round. So they're on pace to take 5 players. We'll see if they make another deal, how it ends up shaking out for OKC. Oh, I'm sorry, Sengun's going to Houston. I get excited with the Turkish players, I'm not quite sure. But Turkish Delight, as nicknamed by Hakeem. Our partners at 24/7 Sports, Eric Bossy there. They had the worst offensive rating in the NBA, so they could use a little influx of offense. Tre Mann to Oklahoma City, how's this fit for you?
I like the fit. I think his strengths with what he does, shooting the ball from distance and playing in the pick and roll, should allow him to play nicely with the players that they've already got in place. So I like it. He was one of my guys that I thought would be a draft night value coming into all this, and now we're seeing that happen. And it's funny you guys talk about Tre and how he's a Gainesville kid and ended up with Florida, but what's crazy about him is he was actually in the process expected to end up in North Carolina, and the night before he was to take his official visit to North Carolina, his dad had a dream, and in that dream there was a vision where apparently a higher power told him that he saw his son playing at Florida. So he called up the North Carolina coaches on the morning that he was supposed to fly to Chapel Hill and presumably commit that weekend and told them they're out. He's going to go to Florida. So even though he's a local kid, you never know how guys end up someplace. And now he's going to be at Oklahoma City, where I really like the fit of him playing next to the pieces they have in place.
Hey, God told Reggie White to go to Green Bay. It's the biggest free agent signing in the history of the NFL. And sometimes that's how it goes down. Eric Bossy, well done. All right. What's the grade here? Let's send it over to Keem.
Well, it's interesting, too, because, Gary, he raised his scoring average from his freshman to his sophomore season, nearly 11 points per game. So certainly his best basketball in front of him. Tre Mann headed to Oklahoma City. Your grade is what here?
I'll go A-. I had him, coming off 1 pick before this, but he wasn't the highest player remaining on my board. So I don't want to go A+, but I like the pick. And a lot of future possible one-and-dones would be wise to study the Tre Mann story. Bossy knows it well. It's a young man who came to college probably thinking he was going to be a one-and-done, and he just wasn't very good as a player and dropped as a prospect and decided to come back to school. And he improved in all of the ways that you would want to watch him improve if you worked at an NBA front office. Most notably, he became a killer from the three-point line. He could make open shots, or he could create them for himself with step-back jumpers. He hit one in the NCAA tournament. And to my initial point, guys like B.J. Boston in this draft, who thought they were going to be lottery picks, weren't good in college and decided to stick in the draft no matter what. And now he's not going to be picked anywhere close to where he would have been picked a year ago or perhaps a year from now. Again, B.J. Boston might have benefited from more closely watching the Tre Mann story. Not every player who comes back to school improves his stock, but Tre Mann undeniably did.
Gary, who's a comp for you? I've heard some evaluations comparing him to a guy like C.J. McCollum.
Yeah, I mean, a guard with size who can shot create from all over the court. Like, that makes some sense to me. I personally never, put those two together, but I can see it. In the NBA, a lot of things are important. But at the end of the day, one of the things that is super important is having a guy on the who can play on the perimeter, who's got some size, who can shot create. Who, hey, we're in a late shot clock situation. Can you go get us a shot? Tre Mann didn't do that well at Florida as a freshman, did it tremendously well as a sophomore, and that seems to be his translatable skill. We've talked about shooters a lot in this draft tonight. There's some shooters that are just mostly at this point catch and shoot guys. Tre Mann, you can throw him the ball, isolate him, and he can go get a shot over somebody. That's something that's going to be valuable and serve him well in the NBA.
Gary Parrish grading the pick as an A-. You get an A, and you get an A.
Want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis. No yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.